They laughed at you. They made a joke out of you. Maybe in a meeting, maybe online, maybe in front of people you thought respected you. And you stood there, silent, powerless. But what if I told you? That silence, that exact moment when you felt humiliated, was your first step toward power. Most people think humiliation breaks you, but in Stoic philosophy, it's the moment you're tested. Not by others, but by your own self-control. And when you learn how to master that silence, you become untouchable. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why letting them humiliate you, instead of fighting back, might be the most powerful thing you'll ever do. We live in a world that feeds on public humiliation, online, at work, even in our personal lives. People compete not only to look right, but to make others look small. One sarcastic comment, one screenshot, one mocking laugh, and suddenly, you're the joke of the day. It hurts. Because humiliation doesn't just attack your reputation, it attacks your sense of worth. You replay the moment over and over, thinking, I should have said something. I should have defended myself. I shouldn't have let them get away with it. But here's the truth. Reacting would have only given them more power. What Stoicism teaches, and what people like Marcus Aurelius lived by, is that your reaction defines whether you've truly been humiliated or not. So today, we're diving into something that most people never talk about: how to stay calm, grounded, and unshaken, even when someone tries to tear you down in front of others. In this episode, you'll learn 3 things: why people try to humiliate others, the real reason behind it; how Stoic self-control turns humiliation into emotional armor; how to transform that pain into an inner strength that nobody can touch. And at the end, I'll share a story about a Roman emperor who was publicly mocked, yet remained so calm that his silence destroyed his enemies without a single word. Because that's the paradox of true strength. The moment you stop defending yourself, you start becoming undefeatable. Have you ever noticed that the people who try to humiliate others are rarely as confident as they seem? They speak louder, stand taller, laugh harder. But if you look closely, their eyes are restless. They need someone to look smaller so they can feel taller. In every workplace, every social circle, there's always that one person who finds satisfaction in making others look foolish. Sometimes it's subtle. A joke at your expense in a meeting, a comment that draws quiet laughter around the table. Other times, it's deliberate. They challenge your ideas, question your intelligence, or mock your mistakes. And if you're someone who works hard, stays humble, and doesn't play politics, you might find yourself becoming their favorite target. Because your calmness, your quiet, exposes something in them. They can't stand it. Your existence reminds them of what they lack: self-respect that doesn't need an audience. When people feel threatened, they don't always attack your weakness. They attack your dignity. Because if they can make you flinch, defend, or explain yourself, they've won. They've pulled you down to their level, where chaos replaces control. But here's the twist. They're not doing it because they hate you. They're doing it because they hate themselves a little more. Open Luke gives in the next part. We'll dig deeper into what truly drives this, the hidden insecurity behind every act of humiliation, and why recognizing it is the first step to freedom. Most people who humiliate others don't wake up thinking, I'm going to hurt someone today. It's rarely that intentional. It comes from something quieter, something deeper, insecurity disguised as confidence. Maybe they grew up in a home where being wrong meant being worthless. Maybe their job has turned them into performers, always proving their worth through comparisons. Or maybe they just don't know how to feel good without making someone else feel small. In Canada, or anywhere success is measured by how put together you look, There's silent pressure to appear in control. So when someone like you walks in, calm, steady, unbothered, it unsettles them. You become a mirror, showing them their lack of peace. That's when they strike. They tease you in front of others, challenge your decisions, question your competence, not because they care about truth, but because they crave attention. And humiliation, it's their way of stealing your calm. The irony is, they don't see that their behavior reveals everything they're trying to hide. As Seneca wrote, "He who injures others hurts himself most." But if this is true, if their cruelty is just a projection of their pain, then how do you stop it from infecting you? How do you walk away with dignity still intact when the world seems to reward those who shout the loudest? That's where Stoicism begins to change everything. Stoicism teaches that no insult can truly touch you unless you let it inside. The wound doesn't come from their words, it comes from your reaction to those words. But in the heat of the moment, that's the hardest truth to remember. Because when someone humiliates you, maybe your manager mocks your work in a meeting, or a friend turns a private story into a public joke, your body reacts before your mind does. Your chest tightens, your face burns, and your thoughts start racing. You want to fight back, to prove you're not weak. But that reaction, that need to prove, is exactly what they want. They feed on it. Your anger gives them validation. Your defense gives them power. Epictetus said it perfectly. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When you stay calm, you rob them of what they came for, your energy. Humiliation can only exist when two people play their parts. The attacker and the one who takes offense refuse to play, and the game ends instantly. In that silence, something magical happens. You start to see them, not as powerful, but as desperate. Their cruelty becomes smaller, almost pathetic. But silence isn't easy. It feels unnatural when you're being targeted. So how do you train yourself to stay composed when your mind screams to fight back? In the next part, we'll look at the psychology behind your reaction and how to break that pattern before it controls you. Every time someone tries to humiliate you, your nervous system interprets it as a threat, not to your body, but to your identity. That's why your pulse races, your mouth goes dry, and your mind floods with defense. It's the same primal instinct that once helped humans survive. Back then, being shamed by the tribe meant exile, and exile meant death. So even today, thousands of years later, our brains react to humiliation as if it's life-threatening. But here's the irony. In the modern world, humiliation isn't exile. It's exposure. It shows you who people really are. The ones who mock reveal their insecurity. The ones who stay silent reveal their loyalty. And you get to choose who deserves access to your peace. The Stoics understood this before psychology ever did. They saw insult and humiliation as tests of perception, moments to prove that your worth isn't negotiable. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone despises me, that is his concern. My only concern is not to do or say anything worthy of contempt. In other words, your dignity doesn't depend on what happens to you. It depends on what you choose to become after it happens." Still, knowing this isn't the same as feeling it. So how do you turn that instant rush of anger and shame into composure? How do you reclaim control in those few seconds before your reaction takes over? That's what we'll uncover next. The moment right after humiliation feels like a storm inside your chest. You replay every word, every laugh, every expression around you, and your mind whispers, "I should have said something." That urge to react is powerful because humiliation creates an illusion of losing control. And your ego, desperate to reclaim it, pushes you to fight back. But fighting back rarely restores your dignity. It only extends the humiliation. The more you explain yourself, the more they sense your wound. And the more they sense it, the deeper they cut. That's why the Stoics practiced what Marcus Aurelius called the pause of mastery, the art of doing nothing until emotion settles. That short silence isn't weakness, it's restraint with direction, it's choosing to act from clarity, not chaos. Think about it like this: in Canada's cold winters, if you fall into icy water, your instinct is to thrash, but the more you fight, the faster your body freezes. Survival begins when you stop panicking. Humiliation works the same way. Stillness is what saves you, because silence buys time. Time to see the situation for what it is, not what your pain is telling you it means. But silence alone isn't enough. At some point, you'll have to face the internal question every Stoic asks: why does this still hurt me? And the answer to that question might completely change how you see humiliation forever. So why does it still hurt? Even when you know they're acting out of insecurity, even when you remind yourself their words don't define you, it still stings. Because humiliation doesn't just question your worth, it threatens your identity. It whispers, maybe they're right about you. And if a part of you already doubts yourself, their words find the crack and slip right in. That's where real self-mastery begins, not in pretending it doesn't hurt, but in asking why it does. The Stoics never told us to be numb. They taught us to be aware, to watch our pain, trace it back to its root, and see what it's trying to tell us. Maybe their insult hurts because it touches an insecurity you've ignored, a fear of not being enough, smart enough, or respected enough. Maybe it reminds you of an old wound that never healed. If so, that moment of humiliation becomes a mirror, a brutal but honest one. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Humiliation is friction. It reveals where you're still fragile, where your peace still depends on approval. And once you see that, the power shifts from them back to you. But awareness alone isn't the end. It's the beginning. Because after awareness must come choice. Will you let the moment define you, or will you redefine the moment? In the next section, we'll see how to transform that pain into quiet strength, the kind no one can take away. When you stop trying to erase the pain and start learning from it, humiliation loses its grip. You begin to realize it was never really about them. It was always about you and your reaction. You can't control what people say, but you can choose what echoes inside you afterward. That's what makes Stoicism so quietly powerful. It doesn't ask you to pretend the world is kind. It teaches you to remain kind within a cruel world. It gives you the tools to stay grounded when your dignity is challenged, and to rebuild your confidence not from applause, but from self-respect. In Canada, where social pressure often wears a polite face, is smirk instead of an insult, sarcasm instead of confrontation, this practice becomes even more essential. Because sometimes humiliation doesn't come as an attack. It comes as subtle dismissal, a look, a tone, a room that suddenly goes quiet after you speak. And yet, the principle stays the same. You decide what meaning it carries. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." So when humiliation arrives, your first duty isn't to defend your reputation, it's to protect your mind. To say silently, "You may embarrass me in front of others, but you cannot touch the peace I've built within." And that's the shift, the quiet turning point where humiliation no longer wounds you, it refines you. Where every insult becomes an invitation to grow. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to strengthen that inner peace, how to stay composed when the world tests you again, and how to make your silence not just a shield, but a statement of power. There's a moment after humiliation when everything goes quiet. The noise fades, the anger cools, and you're left with that heavy silence. It's in that silence that your power begins to form. You see, The Stoics never taught people to escape pain. They taught them to use it, to let it become fuel for a self-mastery. Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body, and humiliation, though painful, is one of life's purest forms of difficulty. It exposes your ego, strips away false pride, and demands that you rebuild from what's real." Most people let humiliation define them. They replay it for months, telling the story of how unfairly they were treated. But a Stoic rewrites that story. They see every insult as resistance training, not for the body, but for the soul. So when someone tries to humiliate you, it's no longer a curse. It's a classroom. It's where you learn what you truly control and what you don't. It's where you stop trying to win their approval and start earning your own respect. But how exactly do you turn pain into power? Not just in theory, but in real life. That's what we'll uncover next. The Stoic process of transforming emotional wounds into strength. Transformation doesn't happen in the moment you're humiliated. It happens in the moments after. When you're alone, when the crowd is gone, when you stare at the ceiling replaying every word, that's when the rebuilding begins. You have two choices. You can relive the scene, becoming the victim again and again, or you can reframe it, not as a loss of dignity, but as a lesson in endurance. The Stoics had a phrase for this, Amor, Fati, love your fate. It doesn't mean enjoying humiliation or pretending it didn't hurt. It means accepting that what happened was necessary for your growth. You don't have to like it. You just have to stop fighting it. When you stop resisting, the pain softens. And when it softens, you can see it clearly for the first time. You begin to understand. Maybe this moment wasn't meant to break me. Maybe it was meant to show me how strong I've become. Think about steel. It only hardens in fire. In the same way, your calm, your patience, your humility, they all harden in moments of discomfort. What feels like a burn now will one day become the glow of your inner resilience. But there's a deeper layer to Amor Fati. It's not just acceptance, it's gratitude. And in the next part, we'll explore why learning to thank your pain might be the most radical act of strength you'll ever perform. Gratitude and humiliation. They sound like opposites, don't they? How can anyone feel thankful for the people who embarrassed them, who made them feel small? But this is where Stoicism turns pain into philosophy, and philosophy back into power. Gratitude, in the Stoic sense, isn't about thanking the person who hurt you. It's about recognizing what their actions gave you. Awareness, humility, strength. Because every time you're humiliated, life gives you a mirror. You see your ego, your attachment to approval, your hidden desire to be seen as enough. And once you see those parts of yourself clearly, you can finally free them. That's why Marcus Aurelius thanked adversity in his meditations. He saw every insult as a gift that revealed something he still needed to master. He didn't ask, "Why me?" He asked, "What can I learn from this?" And that's where the shift happens. When you stop seeing humiliation as injustice and start seeing it as information. Information about who you are, what still controls you, and how much further you can grow. In a culture obsessed with protecting our image, that mindset is revolutionary. Because instead of reacting, you evolve. Instead of defending yourself, you refine yourself. But gratitude alone doesn't rebuild confidence. It creates space for it. So how do you fill that space with real, lasting strength? That's what we'll uncover next. How Stoics turned wounds into wisdom. One disciplined act at a time. Once you've faced the pain and stripped it of shame, the next step is rebuilding, quietly, patiently, from within. Stoics believed that strength wasn't something you show. It's something you practice, not in grand gestures, but in small acts of consistency. When you've been humiliated, your instinct is to prove yourself, to work harder, to outshine. to make them see your worth. But the Stoic path takes a different turn. It says, don't prove, improve. Don't perform for the crowd that laughed at you, perform for the future version of you that will never need their approval again. It might mean waking up earlier to sharpen your discipline. It might mean forgiving faster so bitterness doesn't poison you. It might mean mastering your craft so completely that results speak when words can't. Every calm response, every silent refusal to lash out, every time you choose dignity over ego, that's a rep in the gym of your soul. You're training resilience the same way you train muscle, through deliberate repetition, and slowly something shifts. The same situation that once triggered pain now triggers focus. Their mockery doesn't wound you, it fuels you, because you've learned that humiliation can't harm a person who's busy becoming stronger. But rebuilding your strength is only half the journey. The next challenge is deeper. Learning how to protect that peace once you have it, especially when the world tries to test it again. When you finally regain your balance, the world will test it. It always does. Sometimes in small ways, a condescending tone, a dismissive laugh. Other times, through people who remind you of the same patterns you thought you'd already outgrown. That's why real strength isn't built once. It's maintained daily. Just like you brush your teeth or exercise, you have to guard your peace. The Stoics call this mental hygiene. It means staying watchful of what you allow into your mind. The words, the energy, the stories you tell yourself. When someone mocks you again, notice what happens inside. Does your chest tighten? Do old thoughts return? Here we go again. I'm not respected. That's the cue to pause. Because the true test of growth isn't how you react when life is calm, but when old wounds knock on your door again. In that moment, choose presence over pride. Remind yourself, I've already met this lesson before. The situation may look new, but the principle hasn't changed. You still decide what meaning to give it, and that's when self-mastery turns into quiet confidence. You no longer need to prove that you've moved on. You live like someone who has. Your silence stops being defense. It becomes decoration. But there's one more step, the hardest one. Not just protecting your peace, but using it to influence others without a single word. In the next part, we'll explore how your calm presence can transform the very people who once tried to break you. There's something quietly powerful about a person who no longer reacts. You've seen it before. That colleague who stays calm when others panic, or that friend who doesn't take the bait when someone tries to provoke them. Their stillness makes people uneasy and curious. That's the paradox of Stoic strength. The calmer you are, the louder your presence becomes. When you stop playing the same emotional game, you force others to confront themselves. The one who tries to humiliate you begins to notice that their words fall flat. The audience, once entertained, starts feeling uncomfortable because your silence exposes the truth. That power never belonged to the loudest voice, but to the most centered one. In time, your restraint becomes influence. Not because you tried to change anyone, but because you mastered yourself. People start adjusting their tone around you. They start thinking before they speak. Your composure sets the standard for the room, without you saying a single word. And perhaps the greatest irony of all is this. The same people who once mocked you may one day come to you for advice. Because respect grows where noise ends. But to reach that level of calm, you must carry one final realization. That forgiveness isn't a favor you give to others. It's freedom you give to yourself. And in the next part, we'll close this chapter with that truth. How letting go turns humiliation into liberation. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the highest form of strength. Not the kind that forgets what happened, but the kind that refuses to carry it any longer. Because every time you replay the moment of humiliation, You hand your piece back to the person who took it. To forgive doesn't mean saying, "It's fine." It means saying, "It no longer defines me." You acknowledge the wound, but you stop living from it. You close the chapter without needing an apology, without needing revenge. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." And when you forgive, you break the cycle. You stop becoming what hurt you. You prove that dignity isn't restored by revenge, but by release. In Canada, where quiet endurance is often mistaken for weakness, this truth feels almost radical. But it's in that quiet endurance that your real transformation happens. Because forgiveness doesn't erase the pain, it repurposes it. It turns humiliation into wisdom, bitterness into peace, and memory into meaning. And when you finally let go, something remarkable occurs. You no longer fear being humiliated again. You've seen the worst, and instead of collapsing, you grew from it. You walk differently, lighter, steadier, and touchable. That's when the lesson is complete. You've stopped reacting, you've started living, and the people who once tried to humiliate you can no longer reach the place you've built within. Next, we'll move into the final chapter, the story of Marcus Aurelius himself, and how one act of grace turned public mockery into timeless respect. History remembers Marcus Aurelius as the philosopher emperor, the man who ruled the most powerful empire on earth while keeping his heart untouched by power. But what many don't know is that Marcus was often mocked, even inside his own court. Some senators saw his calm as weakness. Others whispered that a man who spends his nights writing philosophy cannot possibly command legions. One story tells of a public meeting in Rome where a general, proud, arrogant, openly challenged him. He mocked Marcus's habit of meditation, calling it the coward's way of thinking. The crowd laughed. All eyes turned to the emperor, waiting for his fury, his rebuttal, his punishment. But Marcus didn't react. He simply looked at the man and said, "If you have truth, I will learn. If you have insult, I will ignore." Then he dismissed the meeting and walked away. The silence that followed was louder than any threat could ever be. Days later, that same general approached him privately to apologize. Marcus accepted it, not out of pride, but out of principle. He knew that responding with anger would have proven the man right. Instead, his calm revealed who the stronger one truly was. But what allowed Marcus to stay that composed, to face public humiliation and still radiate grace? In the next part, we'll uncover the inner philosophy that shaped his response, the same mindset you can use when the world tries to make you lose yours. Marcus Aurelius understood something that most people never will. Power doesn't come from controlling others, it comes from controlling yourself. That's why he never saw humiliation as an attack. He saw it as a mirror. To Marcus, every insult was an opportunity to test his own mastery. If he reacted, he failed. If he stayed calm, he proved that no one could dictate his peace. He once wrote in Meditations, "When another blames you or hates you, or people voice similar criticisms, go to their souls, penetrate inside, and see what sort of people they are. You will realize that there is no need to be racked with anxiety that they should hold any particular opinion about you." That single reflection reveals the secret of his composure. He didn't personalize other people's cruelty. He studied it. He turned judgment into observation, insult into insight. It's the same lesson that modern psychology teaches today. When you depersonalize an attack, you take away its emotional weight. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What's driving them?" In Canada's modern context, it's like facing a boss who undermines you in a meeting, or a coworker who tries to embarrass you in front of the team. You can't change their behavior, but you can control whether their tone becomes your truth. In the next part, we'll look at how Marcus trained himself for these moments, how daily reflection and Stoic discipline became his armor long before the insults ever arrived. Marcus didn't wake up one day with unshakable calm. He trained for it, the same way a soldier trains for battle. Every morning, he would write in his journal, not for show, but for self-discipline. In meditations, he reminded himself of the simple but brutal truth. Today I shall meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and unsocial. He expected the insult before it arrived. That was his way of staying ready. When humiliation came, he didn't say, "Why me?" He said, "Here it is." This mindset is what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. It means visualizing discomfort before it happens, not to become cynical, but to remove surprise. Because the shock of humiliation often hurts more than the act itself, Marcus prepared for it like a mental vaccine. He rehearsed grace under pressure until it became instinct. And when real insults arrived, he was immune to their sting, not because he didn't feel them, but because he had already faced them in his mind. First today. It could look like quietly telling yourself before entering work, "Someone might interrupt me, someone might mock me, but I will stay composed." This isn't pessimism, it's preparation. But even the strongest preparation doesn't remove pain completely. So how did Marcus process the emotion itself, without letting it harden into resentment? That's the part of his story that reveals the true depth of Stoic compassion. What made Marcus different wasn't that he didn't feel hurt, it's that he refused to let hurt turn into hatred. He believed that bitterness was a form of slavery. When you allow resentment to live rent-free in your mind, you hand over control to the very person who wronged you. So instead of storing anger, Marcus practiced understanding. He wrote, "Whenever you are offended at someone's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings. Then you will forget your anger." He didn't mean to excuse cruelty. He meant to neutralize it. By understanding his own imperfections, he created empathy instead of rage. And empathy, for the Stoics, wasn't softness, it was wisdom. It kept the mind clear, unclouded by the poison of revenge. When that general mocked him before the Roman Senate, Marcus didn't think, "How dare he?" He thought, "What must he be suffering to need this performance?" That shift from offense to observation was his superpower. Because once you start seeing people's cruelty as a symptom of their own weakness, your pain starts to dissolve. Their words lose their sharpness. You stop needing to win the encounter. You've already won by not descending to their level. In modern life, this same grace is a rare kind of intelligence, the kind that disarms arrogance without ever raising your voice. But Marcus's calm wasn't passive. It was active discipline. In the next part, we'll explore how he balanced compassion with authority, how he led with mercy yet never lost command. Marcus's strength was never about being passive. It was about being in control. He ruled an empire, commanded armies, and made decisions that determined the fate of millions. If his calm had been weakness, Rome would have fallen. But instead, his calm became his command. When others led with fear, Marcus led with reason. He didn't punish those who insulted him unless it was necessary for justice, never for ego. And that made his authority undeniable. People obeyed him not because they feared his temper, but because they trusted his restraint. Imagine that kind of leadership today, in a company, a home, a community. The person who stays calm when others panic doesn't lose power. They become the source of it. That's the Stoic paradox. Control yourself, and you control the room. Marcus embodied this every day. He didn't need to prove superiority. His behavior did that for him. He taught by example, not by punishment. And even his enemies found it hard to hate him, because he refused to play their game. In his calm, people saw strength they couldn't explain. In his silence, they felt judgment sharper than any sword. And that's how dignity wins, quietly, consistently, without applause. But even a man like Marcus had moments of doubt, nights where he questioned if staying kind in a cruel world was worth it. In the next part, we'll step into his private writings, where he confronted that question and found an answer that still speaks across centuries. There were nights when even Marcus Aurelius doubted himself. He was surrounded by betrayal, envy, and endless noise, the kind that eats at your peace one whisper at a time. He wrote in Meditations, not as a philosopher giving advice, but as a man trying to survive his own thoughts. One entry reveals that vulnerability. Do not waste the rest of your life worrying about others unless it affects the common good. It will keep you from doing anything useful. That sentence wasn't written for history. It was written for healing. It shows that even an emperor struggled with the same pain we do, the sting of judgment, the exhaustion of trying to stay kind when others are cruel. But Marcus kept coming back to one truth. That peace was a personal duty. It wasn't given by the world. It was built from within, moment by moment, reflection by reflection. So when the world humiliated him, he turned to his journal instead of revenge. He wrote, he reflected, and he released. And that's what made him untouchable. Because no matter what was said about him in public, he had already resolved it in private. He met cruelty with philosophy, mockery with meditation, and fear with discipline. That practice of turning inward before acting outward is what separates a reactive life from a deliberate one. And it's exactly what turns humiliation into clarity. But what's most extraordinary isn't how Marcus endured mockery. It's what happened afterward. In the final part of his story, you'll see how his silence didn't just protect his dignity. It changed the hearts of those who once despised him. In the months following that public insult, something unexpected began to happen. The same men who had laughed at Marcus started to imitate him. They noticed that his calm never wavered, his judgment never clouded, his decisions never carried bitterness. He ruled with the steadiness of a mountain, silent but unshakable. The general who once mocked him became one of his most loyal commanders, not because Marcus punished him, but because Marcus forgave him. And that forgiveness was heavier than any punishment could have been. It forced the man to confront himself, to see the difference between a loud ego and quiet greatness. Marcus's silence spread like a discipline through his court. Meetings became calmer, arguments shorter. Even his rivals began quoting his words. His restraint had become contagious. That's the hidden legacy of Stoic power. It doesn't just protect you, it transforms your surroundings. Your peace becomes an atmosphere. Your silence becomes a mirror in which others see who they are. And long after his death, Marcus Aurelius's name was remembered not as the emperor who ruled with an iron fist, but as the emperor who ruled himself. That's why his story still matters today, because the battle he fought wasn't for Rome, but for mastery over the human heart. Next, we'll move into the final chapter, the recap and conclusion. You'll see how every lesson connects, why humiliation isn't your enemy, why silence is your armor, and how dignity, once rebuilt, can never be taken again. Let's take a moment to breathe and look back at the path we've just walked together. From the pain of humiliation to the quiet power of dignity, this entire journey has been about one simple but life-changing truth. What happens to you matters less than how you interpret it. We began with the sting, the raw emotion of being made small in front of others, that ache of embarrassment, that desperate urge to explain or defend yourself. But as the Stoics taught us, humiliation is never final. It's only a mirror. It shows you where your ego still seeks validation and where your peace still depends on approval. Then we learned what drives the people who try to humiliate you. Not strength, but insecurity. Their cruelty is often a mask, a way to hide their own fear of being insignificant. Once you understand that, their words lose their poison. You stop seeing them as villains and start seeing them as teachers, and willing teachers, perhaps, but teachers nonetheless. And when you stop reacting, you start reclaiming power. Silence becomes not an absence of response, but a statement of mastery. Your composure reveals who truly controls the situation, but understanding isn't enough. Transformation requires practice. In the next section, we'll gather the Stoic principles that turn insight into action, lessons you can carry into your daily life. Long after this video ends, the Stoics never believed wisdom lived only in words. It had to be lived, breathed, practiced. So what does that look like, here and now, in our world? It begins with awareness. When humiliation happens, or even the memory of it returns, pause. Notice what's rising inside you: anger, shame, defensiveness. Then, instead of pushing those feelings away, observe them. They're signals, not enemies. That's what Marcus Aurelius did every morning. He didn't fight his emotions. He studied them. Next comes restraint. Before reacting, buy yourself space. Count to 3. Breathe. Ask the question, will this reaction protect my peace or feed their power? Most times, silence will answer louder than your voice ever could. And then comes transformation. Use that energy to build something real. Discipline, skill, presence. Each insult becomes a workout for your mind. Each act of restraint adds a layer of armor to your soul. This is how Stoicism turns theory into strength. In time, you'll notice a shift. You'll stop being haunted by what they said. You'll start being defined by what you've become. Steady, grounded, quietly confident. But there's one more truth to carry forward, the final layer of Stoic wisdom that ties everything together. Why peace, once built, can never be taken away. Only surrender. True peace isn't given, it's earned. You earn it every time you stay silent when others provoke you. You earn it when you walk away from arguments that no longer serve your growth. And you earn it when you choose dignity over dominance, stillness over noise. That's why the Stoics saw peace as the highest achievement. Not luxury, not fame, not even victory. Because peace means mastery. It means the world no longer decides how you feel. It means no one, not a critic, not a boss, not even your past, can touch the calm you've built inside. Humiliation once felt like an ending, didn't it? But now, you can see it for what it truly was, a beginning. The moment you learned that your value was never in their approval, it was in your response. So remember this. They can mock you, but they can't move you. They can laugh at you, but they can't define you. They can test you, but they can't break what's already been rebuilt. As Seneca wrote, the greatest remedy for anger is delay, and sometimes that delay, that sacred pause before you react, is the space where your freedom is born. So the next time someone tries to humiliate you, let them speak. Let them show their weakness, while you stay rooted in your strength. Because one day, they'll realize what you already know. The calmest person in the room is the one who's already won. Now that you've seen how Stoic philosophy turns humiliation into inner strength, stay until the end. I'll share a final reflection and a question that could redefine the way you face judgment for the rest of your life. Before you scroll away, pause for a moment. Think about the last time someone tried to make you feel small. Maybe it was a comment, a laugh, or just a look. Ask yourself, did it truly hurt me? Or did I hand them that power? That's the question I want to leave with you today. Because every time you choose not to react, you reclaim another piece of yourself. That's what Stoicism is really about. Not pretending to be emotionless, but learning to direct your emotions instead of being directed by them. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who's going through a similar storm. You never know. Your silence, your story, might be exactly what helps them heal. And if you want to keep building that calm strength, subscribe to StoicCraft. Here, we don't chase motivation, we practice mastery. We explore the timeless lessons of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, but through the lens of our modern world, work, family, and the quiet battles no one sees. Because in a society that rewards noise, learning to stay grounded is a revolutionary act. Your calm is your rebellion. Your restraint is your power. But before we end, I have one final reflection, a short meditation you can carry with you the next time humiliation knocks at your door. The next time someone tries to humiliate you, stop for a second. Don't rush to defend. Don't rush to explain. Just breathe, feel the sting, but don't feed it. Then silently remind yourself, this moment is not who I am. This is only a test of who I've become. Let that thought anchor you, because when you realize that no insult can touch what's already whole inside you, you walk differently, lighter, calmer, freer. And remember, Stoicism isn't about isolation. It's about community. People who strive to think deeper, react slower, and live wiser. So I'd love to hear from you. What's one situation where you stayed calm instead of reacting? And what did it change for you? Share it in the comments. Your story might give someone else the courage to stay composed when their world shakes. If this message found you at the right time, don't just like the video, live it. Carry this calm into your next conversation, your next challenge, your next quiet test of dignity. Because at the end of the day, silence doesn't mean defeat. It means you've already risen above the noise, and as always, stay disciplined, stay calm, and stay untouchable. This is StoicCraft, where silence wins every time.